Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of telling titles, looking at songs whose titles tell you exactly what you're in store for. Today we're looking at something from PSYCHOSTICK. It's called This Is Not a Song, It's a Sandwich. Let's dive into it and see what PSYCHOSTICK is bringing to the table today. Oh, that bass. That bass is funky. Really fun idea right there, rhythmically.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this is a song. Well, I guess I'll just have to show you exactly where you are wrong. Why aren't you hearing the G? Why aren't you feeling the hell? If you don't listen, you'll miss it. You don't understand. I will explain it all once. I can explain it all twice. To make it clear to your brain until you're taking a bite. It couldn't be a damn cause it doesn't have a lever. It's not the DMV cause it doesn't make you wait. It couldn't be a taco cause it isn't very
Really interesting inversion of where we just were. Similar guitar idea, but much lower octave. We got those harmonies in the back.
What would make you think otherwise? This is not a song, it's a sandwich. No more of your vile, filthy lies. This is a song. No, it's a sandwich. But it's a song. No, it's a sandwich. So what are you thinking? Still think this is a song? Do you require more proof? Do you enjoy being wrong? Aren't you hearing the meat? Why aren't you feeling the bread? If you don't listen, you'll miss it. You're making me sick. I will explain it all once. I can explain it all twice. And then again and again until you're taking a bite. It couldn't be a chick cause it doesn't want to marry. It can't be one of those things because it doesn't suck enough. It couldn't be a boot cause it isn't very squishy. It couldn't be a beer cause it isn't good and stuff. It couldn't be a tub cause it doesn't have a ducky. It couldn't be a stoner cause it doesn't have a joint. It couldn't be an egg cause there is no Easter bunny. It couldn't be a song cause it doesn't have a point. Because this is not a song, it's a sandwich. What would make you think otherwise? This is not a song, it's a sandwich. It's really just a hoagie in disguise. I'm pretty sure this is a song. No, it's a sandwich. Song. Sandwich. Song.
That
Sandwich.
bass really punching through right here.
What is wrong with you? No, it's a sandwich. Lettuce, bacon, mayo, tomato, cheese, olives, onions, frog, tuna, turkey, peppers,
Constant
salami,
tension.
noodles, pizza, tires, crowbars. You bought or stole this drum CD. Now you are suffering, driving home, working out, or at your job, at your house, or wherever, on your iPod.
And see, now I'm kind of confused. Y'all know I'm a music critic, right? So why did you present to me food to be analyzed? I don't know. It's so far outside of my wheelhouse. I, I don't know. It's got interesting combination of flavors and things I wouldn't really expect. It's a little odd, but also comforting and familiar in places. As far as like the crust of the bread, but like I don't know. It also has like a very metallic element to it. It might have been the crowbar I was tasting. I don't know. I'm not a food critic, so I think we're just gonna wrap it up there. I don't know that I have much else to say, but this is, I mean, you guys gave me a sandwich to review, and I don't know, that's so weird. Remember to be critical, not cynical, of the food you eat, and have a fantastic rest of your day. Nah, just kidding. All right, let's dive into this. Um, so this is some pretty straightforward hard rock slash new metal slash also has a breakdown slash obvious comedy piece. And there's so many angles to kind of approach what they're doing and to talk about it. But I think the if we kind of wrap everything up together, we can see for at least the majority of this track, there is one through line that permeates all the compositional elements, and that's that pretty much everybody is doing the same thing to create simple music. And I think the simplicity is a core aspect of it. The music is supposed to be fairly palatable. I could see, um, yeah, I mean, I could see this played on local radio, lyrics aside. But the musicality of it, I don't think there's anything there that I haven't heard on a radio station before. And, that gives it a very palatable sound, or I should say they were aiming for a very palatable sound. As long as you're used to listening to harder rock, if you listen to, especially over here, Clear Channel Rock, uh, you're going to hear stuff that's like this, and you'll probably feel pretty comfortable listening to this style of music. And in that way, the music actually kind of gets out of the way. It's easy to listen to, and thus you don't really pay a lot of attention to it. And you do pay attention to the vocals, which, in a lot of ways, this is sort of written like a mainstream style track where the vocals are king. The purpose of this song is to entertain, and it has some headbanging grooves. We have a super ridiculously slow breakdown. Everything that works really well for playing loud and having people headbang along to it, whether it's live or recorded. It's just really solid rock. Um, and the music is there basically to facilitate the vocals. You hear the music, you don't really care what the music's doing, it's just cool to listen to, and then you listen to the story that the vocals are telling, which are exceptionally clearly produced. Even without the lyrics written on the page, I don't think I would have had a hard time picking up any of this. Um, and so it is a track that I think is not to throw shade at it, but it's a comedy song. It uses a lot of simple elements so that you can pay attention to the lyrics more easily and hear the comedy of the lyrics. And so it makes it a bit ridiculous that it is so well produced, that it is iterative, but iterative done well. You can attempt to emulate something and end up emulating it poorly. Um, and here the iteration is very well done. Everything about this is high quality hard rock. Um, and there's so much work and effort that goes into this, not just the writing of it, but the recording of it, the mixing of it, the production, playing it live if they do live shows. Um, if they make music videos, I see a couple here in the recommended. I don't see one specifically for this song, but they make music videos, and that's extra work. They take they take their art very seriously, it seems like, but their art is very silly. And so there's also um, that schism there that can create that can actually make it even funnier because there's so much work and effort and attention to detail into making something that is it actually just sounds effortlessly comical. And to put so much work into that is kind of funny when you think about it. Through that lens, though, the both guitars constantly play the same thing. The bass occasionally, the bass kind of flip flops. Sometimes it'll be doing its own thing, and it has a really large bass tone to go along with that to really stand out. But oftentimes you'll find it doing the same thing the guitars are doing, and rhythmically they're following a line with what the drums are doing, and it really creates this unified sound. Like I said, the point is to sound cool and step out of the way for the vocals. And everybody working together certainly achieves that goal. Once you sort of hear what they're doing, they stick around with ideas long enough, you don't ever really get back to it. It's not like you have a new guitar line popping up or counterpoint or harmony trying to take your attention away from the vocals. Speaking of, the vocals are the most varied aspect, where the drums, guitars, all the instruments are have a static, uniform timbre to them. I don't think we heard any shifting guitar tones. We didn't go from clean to distorted. We didn't have an acoustic in there. The drums were pretty much full power all the time. The bass had one tone. The vocals then become very dynamic because we have the clean vocals, and we actually have a couple of different clean vocal inflections, some a bit more serious, some a bit more wacky. I think we have two vocalists. The second vocalist comes in rarely, but is the counter voice, the one who says, "Hey, this is actually a song." And it kind of has like a nasally, nerdy kind of sound that goes really harshly against that full body, throaty kind of vocals that we get, especially once the primary vocalist starts using harsh vocals too, which is just more variety. There's a ton of different sounds coming out of it that creates contrast that the song absolutely needs. If all of this were growled, I don't think it would be as comical as it is. The delivery is certainly part of the comedy here. Um, and having all the different inflections and styles and harshes and cleans and all of it comes together to help add to the comedic element of it all. But it also helps the song feel less stagnant. The verse and the chorus have similar-ish sounds to them on the instrumental side. The riffage is a little different, but the sonic qualities, the atmosphere, all of that's the same. The chord progression, if you can call it that, I think we're just working with two chords, is the same through both of them. It can start to get very samey, which I think it's important that the instrument that calls your attention then is dynamic. It helps the song keep from stagnating. Um, and then, of course, after all of this, we hit our next section, which is the breakdown, and we just get these super slow. They're not slow notes. There's just a lot of space between attacks, and just super low attacks. The vocalist goes down to this growl, and speaking of stagnation, we just kind of sit here, and this is what I was talking about. After our vocalist has a couple of lines to say, we just kind of get the slow, sludgy breakdown of the instruments for a while, like 30 or 40 seconds, and it feels much longer than that because the song doesn't really have a lot to offer. It is background to the lyrics. And again, I'm not throwing shade there. It's all done very intentionally, but I think in this moment, you really start to realize how much the music is secondary or maybe even tertiary to the vocal work. I don't even know it would be secondary if you want to call it tertiary. But it feels so far removed in importance that when it is isolated by itself, and granted, this is the least dynamic element as well, there is one note being played every other beat. It is not the most interesting section of the song musically, which just kind of gives me more question about why it was isolated. It probably works at live shows, and I'm trying right now. My brain's going a mile a minute trying to figure out why this works better in hardcore bands. And they go into these breakdowns, and your vocalist throws out a blah or whatever, and then it's just the instruments, and like that works. But here it doesn't, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it is an unintended consequence of the vocals of the lyrics, finding all that funny and then being thrown into just a straight breakdown with no comedic angle to it, unless you find the breakdown comical, because the breakdown isn't entirely, it's not heavily used in my opinion in hard rock, and so it feels a little bit out of place. And maybe there's comedy to that; it's unexpected. But we listen to so many proggy experimental bands out there that shifting from hard rock to a hardcore breakdown in the middle of a song, like, okay, that's interesting. And I don't even think about the fact that it doesn't really belong there. It's just, I'm used to just taking whatever's thrown at me. um, but yeah, maybe that's the comedy of the section. Maybe it's funny because it lasts so long. Maybe it's not supposed to be funny and it's just runs completely anti to the rest of the track. I don't know. And then we have our final new section, which is the build-up of intensity. The instruments are sitting on one note and just hammering it in, and the vocalist is rising in pitch, and it is just building up to something. And I don't even remember what that something is. I don't remember how the song ended. I know it wasn't long after that, but um, yeah, that's the song. It's it's rather simple, has a plethora of ideas to it, in the idea that it has some hard rock, some build-ups, some riffage, some breakdowns, tons of vocal ideas. So it's varied in that way, but I wouldn't call it a song that is constantly keeping you interested musically, um, with the purpose of making you laugh. And there's definitely room for that. I think we tried to have a comedy week one time, and I don't think it went through. Let me check my theme list real quick. Yeah, comedy has never gone through, unfortunately, but I would love to have a comedy week. I'm a little worried it would be like this, where I don't have a lot to say about the music, and a lot of the comedy comes from the lyrics, which I tend to spend less time on, but I'm always down for funny tracks. Speaking of lyrics, I don't really need to pause it and go look at them. It's pretty clear what the lyrics are here. Um, it's a song where it tries to convince somebody, or even the listener, you in some cases, that this isn't a song, it's a sandwich. And it's obviously a sandwich because it's not all these other things. I mean, we can get into some philosophy about defining things, and we can get into the concepts of argument and debate. None of those are really my wheelhouse, though. But I don't think going about checking everything off and saying, well, it's not this, it's not this, and not, I don't think that's an efficient way to say something. It works 100%. And if I remember, it's been a long time, but I'm pretty sure when I used to do. Does that work in math? I'm trying to remember math proofs. Could we use the process of elimination? Because that's what this is, right? It's saying it's none of this, so it must be this. But it's not exhaustive. That's the thing. It's a really weird way to go about it because he didn't bring up a Rubik's Cube. Is this a Rubik's Cube? I don't know. He didn't tell me. So I might just be overanalyzing it. I mean, it's kind of my MO, but also it's a comedy song. Should I dive that deep into it? It's comical though. And there's a neat story between the two people as well, because our other person comes in and is kind of the voice of us. Yeah, this is a song. No, it's a sandwich. Yeah, no, this is a song. Like, no, it's a sandwich. And like I like that voice of reason thrown in there. It's kind of provides both sides of the equation, both sides of the argument, but one is like completely coming at it through facts. Like, no, this is definitely a song, and the other one just doesn't care about facts. And it's just about being louder. And man, if that doesn't remind me of a lot of arguments I've had on both sides. I'm not gonna say that. And I'm gonna try to make my history look better and say that I've never been the one just shouting, shouting nonsense because I have nothing to back me up. We've all been young. Anyways, I don't know where else to take this. I feel like I've already overanalyzed a track that's just supposed to be dumb fun. Um, those are my thoughts on Psycho Stick's Sandwich. It's obviously a sandwich because it's definitely not a song. What did you think though? Let me know down in the comments section any thoughts or ideas you have about this. Above that, if you could, head into the description box. In there, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you to this menu right here. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that's this one. We also have a special selection coming up next. Stay tuned for that if you're interested. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. We're going to wrap this week up with 3 videos, as we always do on a Friday. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.